Crusades, Faith, Power, and Conflict in the Middle Ages. Segment 1. The Origins of the Crusades. The medieval world of the 11th century was marked by tension, ambition, and belief. Western Europe faced internal struggles, but also rising hopes of unity under Christianity. When the Holy Land fell under new rulers, religious leaders saw both a challenge and an opportunity to rally Christendom under one banner. The call to arms spread like wildfire across Europe. Men of all classes, from peasants to nobles, were promised spiritual reward if they joined the expedition. The idea of liberating Jerusalem captured imaginations, blending faith with dreams of wealth, adventure, and eternal salvation. The First Crusade was born from this fervor. As armies marched eastward, the road was perilous and uncertain. Hunger, disease, and exhaustion claimed countless lives, yet the promise of reaching the Holy City pushed them forward. Along the way, violence erupted, not only against external enemies, but sometimes within Europe itself, revealing the complex and turbulent spirit of the age. When Jerusalem was finally captured, it became a symbol of triumph and tragedy. The city's fall marked a turning point in history, establishing Crusader states and igniting a cycle of war. The origins of the Crusades lay not in one event, but in a mixture of devotion, ambition, and human frailty. Segment 2. Faith and Ideology. Faith was the central pillar of the Crusades, yet it was never simple. For Christians, the campaign represented both holy duty and divine justice. Popes framed it as an act of redemption, turning warfare into a sacred mission. Soldiers believed they fought not only for land, but for the salvation of their souls. For Muslims, the Crusades were invasions of sacred territory. The defense of Jerusalem and surrounding lands was understood as a religious obligation, a jihad to protect the faith and preserve sovereignty. This clash of worldviews fueled centuries of battles, but also sparked exchanges of knowledge, trade, and cultural encounters. Religious ideology infused every aspect of the Crusades. Sermons, songs, and stories depicted the struggle as cosmic warfare between good and evil. Leaders used symbols of faith to inspire loyalty and courage. At the same time, religion provided a justification for conquest, reshaping moral boundaries in ways that still echo in modern history. The human experience of faith during the Crusades was deeply personal. For pilgrims, knights, and ordinary people, belief brought hope in suffering and purpose in chaos. Yet it also blinded many to compassion, justifying cruelty in the name of piety. Faith gave strength, but it also deepened the divisions that fueled endless conflict. Segment 3. The Politics of Power. Behind the banners of faith lay politics and ambition. Kings, nobles, and emperors seized the Crusades as opportunities to expand influence. A campaign presented a chance to control trade routes, claim new lands, and elevate their standing. Religion gave legitimacy, but power remained a powerful motive driving men to war. The Crusader states became symbols of European expansion into the East. Castles and fortresses rose across the Levant, projecting authority while struggling to survive in hostile settings. These fragile kingdoms required constant reinforcements, binding Europe more deeply into Middle Eastern affairs and intertwining politics with warfare and survival. In Europe, the Crusades reshaped authority. Monarchs strengthened their control by leading campaigns, while the Church expanded its moral and political influence. Rivalries between rulers often spilled into the Crusades themselves, turning holy war into a stage for competition. The balance of power in Europe was forever altered by these ventures. Political intrigue surrounded every major crusade. Alliances shifted, betrayals emerged, and ambitions often collided with ideals. Leaders promised unity under faith, but often sought personal gain. The politics of the Crusades revealed a world where devotion and ambition were inseparable, shaping an age defined as much by power as by piety. Segment 4. Encounters of Civilizations. The Crusades were not only wars, but encounters between civilizations. Europe and the Middle East collided in conflict, but also connected through trade, diplomacy, and culture. Goods, ideas, and technologies flowed across battle lines, introducing new knowledge that transformed both regions despite the violence that raged between them. European soldiers marveled at the sophistication of Middle Eastern cities, their architecture, medicine, and scholarship. Returning crusaders carried with them not just spoils of war, but glimpses of another world. The encounter introduced new foods, artistic styles, and scientific concepts that enriched Europe and opened pathways for future cultural growth. For the Islamic world, the Crusades were both a challenge and an exchange. While they brought devastation to many communities, they also led to diplomatic negotiations and cultural influence. Scholars, artisans, and merchants participated in an ongoing interaction that reshaped trade and thought, creating connections across faiths and geographies. The legacy of these encounters was complex. Hostility and mistrust deepened between religions, yet cultural bridges were also built. The Crusades showed how conflict could destroy, but also inadvertently connect civilizations. The medieval world became more global, and these encounters left imprints that shaped the course of history for centuries. Segment 5. Legacy and Consequences. The Crusades left a legacy that extended far beyond the Middle Ages. They reshaped Europe's political map, strengthened monarchies, and expanded the influence of the Church. The experience of mobilizing entire societies for war created patterns of authority and loyalty that endured long after the last Crusader fortress fell. Economically, the Crusades stimulated trade between East and West. European ports thrived as gateways for goods, from spices to silk, while Middle Eastern markets adapted to new opportunities. These exchanges paved the way for the Renaissance and a more interconnected world, even as they deepened economic rivalries and ambitions. Culturally, the Crusades left enduring marks in art, literature, and memory. Epic tales glorified heroes and martyrs, while religious narratives preserved the trauma and triumph of generations. The stories passed down helped shape identities, reinforcing ideas of belonging, struggle, and destiny that echoed in later centuries of European and Middle Eastern history. Yet, the Crusades also left scars of mistrust and division. The wars of faith contributed to centuries of tension between religions and cultures. Their legacy is both one of connection and conflict, of shared growth and bitter memory. The Crusades remind us of humanity's power to unite and divide through faith and ambition.